Hi everyone, and welcome back to Stamp with Anna. And today I have for you another bridge card. And as I mentioned the other day when I made my simple one, this one has a lot more layering and it is just a little more involved than the other one. But the basics of it are the same. The mechanics are the same. So without further ado, let me show you how we made that card. My base is a piece of Coastal Cabana, and it is cut at 4 1/4 by 8, and I have to do some scoring on it. I'm going to score at 1 1/4, 2 1/2, 5 1/2, and 6 3/4. And that is my base. And to make the card, I'm just going to fold these in accordion style. And here's my card base already. So now I'm going to make the insides of my card. I did a lot of sponging to make this scene, so I started out with, rather than cutting all my pieces individually to put on these panels, I have a piece of white, Whisper White, and this is cut at 4 by 6 3/4. And I'm going to sponge my scene on this before I cut it all up. So I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper, and with some sponges, cut up sponges, I'm going to make my scene. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make my sand. And when you're sponging, remember, come in off the paper and you end up with a nice little border there, so you don't have a big blob of in the shape of your sponge. Okay, so there's my sand. And now I'm going to make my water, and with that I'm going to bring in some Coastal Cabana. And again, I'm going to come in off the side. And that's going to be my ocean. Now I want to make my sky, but before I make my sky, I have to mask my sun. So what I did was I took a piece of scrap Whisper White, and with my 3-inch circle punch, I punched out what's going to be my sun. And this is my card, right? So you see I have my sun. It's not quite in the center, so it's a bit over to the left. So this is center. I'm going to bring my mask over just a little to the left. And with a sponge, I'm going to take a little bit of Daffodil Delight, and I'm going to color in my sun there. And when I remove my mask, I have a beautiful sun in the sky. Now I want to do my sky, and I'm going to use Balmy Blue for that. I don't want to get any Balmy Blue on my sun, so I'm going to take the little piece, the circle that I punched out from my mask, and because this is wet ink, if I use a repositionable adhesive, that's really not going to hold it tight. So I'm going to just do the best I can with holding it with my finger. So I'm going to take my sponge that has Balmy Blue, and holding this, I'm going to come in and do my sky, and I'm going to make my line. I'm going to delineate that a little better in just a second. take this and come, like I said, I'm going to come in and try to work around that as best as I can. Okay, and there's my sky. Now, when you go to the beach, your sand and your ocean, they kind of meld. They don't have like a straight line across to differentiate what starts and what finishes. But when you look out in the ocean, where your ocean is and where your sky start, it always looks like it has a perfectly straight line there. So I'm going to come back in with this a piece of paper here, right where these two colors meet, and I'm going to do a little more sponging right there, being careful not to get any blue in my sun, because I just want to define where my sky meets my ocean. So see, do that. When I lift this paper up, it looks like that's exactly where my line is, where my ocean stops and my sky starts. Okay, so now that my sponging is all done, I have to cut this up into little pieces so that it can fit on my panels. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer, and when I cut these, I want to make sure I put them on my work surface in the order that I cut them so that they will all line up seamlessly when I attach them. So I'm going to cut 1 inch and another 1 inch. My sun may have been just a tad bit too close to the left hand side, but that's okay. Then I'm going to bring this over to my other side and cut 1 inch and another inch, and I am left with my centerpiece that is 2 3/4. So you can see, because I kept them all in line, they match up perfectly. Now I want to attach them to my card base, but before I do, I want to mount them. And I went ahead and used some crumb cake and made some mats. Because these are 4 by 1, my mats are 4 1/8 by 1 1/8. This is 4 by 2 3/4, so that mat is 4 1/8 by 2 7/8. So I'm going to just attach these to their mats with that tiny, and don't worry about the measurements, I'll have them on my blog post that I'll link below. Okay. Oops. And 2. My centerpiece. Okay. This one. And then my last piece. And now all I have to do is put them onto my card base. And I'll show you how to make the strap to hold it all together, and it'll be done. And when I'm attaching these, I do want to try to align the bottom so that I have even spacing all the way across my card, you know, like down here. I did cut out, I had some 10 ladies for class the other day, and I did cut all the mats. The ladies aren't crazy about cutting an 1/8, so I did all that cutting for them. So I did 40 of these 1-inch mats and 10 of the middle mat. And of course I did a couple extra just in case we needed them. So when I did I cut and cut and cut, some of them I might be off just a tad, but that's okay. I'm all right with that. And now we have our scene. And there we go. Like I said, my sun is off to the left just a bit too much, but that's okay. So now we just need to make our strap. I have a little piece of paper here. It's cut 5.5 by 1, and I'm going to sponge that with Sahara sand because I'm going to make that look like it's sand. Again, when I'm sponging, I'm coming in off the paper here so that I get a nice border on my paper. And now I'm going to attach that. Now, this is 5.5, the strap, so it's going to hit exactly. Oh, I'm running out of. Oh, there we go. It's going to go exactly from edge to edge. If I wanted, I would cut it a little smaller if I wanted to have like a border. Excuse me, if I wanted to have a border, but in this case I really don't. I want this to come right up to the edge. So I'm going to attach it on that side, and then I'm going to fold this down, open this side up, and push it right over, and you'll see it ends right there. So there we have the sand on our card. Now we just need to make our little chairs. And for my chairs, I used the framelit set Seasonal Layers, and this is the chair, and I'll talk more about that in a minute. But to attach them, I'm going to bring in my silicone mat, and I'm going to take a little bit of my liquid glue, and I'm going to just make a little puddle there. And with a sponge dauber that I have here on my desk somewhere, here it is, I'm going to turn my chairs over, and I'm going to apply some glue to the back of the chairs using the sponge dauber. Now I have to keep in mind that only the bottom part of the chair is going to be on the sand, so I don't want to glue up the back. So I'm just going to dab this here. And the same on this chair. And now I'm just going to attach these. Press the bottom. And press the bottom. And now they will stay attached. Now, this silicone mat, I say this all the time, it's worth every penny you pay for it, and it's very inexpensive. It's only $6, but it's worth that much more, and so much more. When this glue dries, all I have to do with my finger is just rub it right off, and there it is, nice and clean. And it's a great way to apply glue to really tricky spaces. I could have used the double-sided tape, but when I pulled the backing off it, I would have all of this part here with adhesive, and I didn't want that. So that's why I chose to do it with a silicone mat. I could have also used my fine tip glue, but I wanted to show you that trick there. Now I'm going to finish my card off by stamping on the back of it. The stamp set I'm using is the stamp set that coordinates with that framelit set. It's called Colorful Seasons, and I'm going to use this sentiment that says, "May all your tomorrows be as happy as today." And because it is a photopolymer stamp set, I am bringing in my mat, and I think I'm going to stamp with Coastal Cabana. I'm going to ink that up nicely, and it is just it fits this piece of paper, which is 4 by 2 3/4, just perfectly. So I have to be careful when I stamp that. So see, the edges just hit the ends of the edges of the paper. So straight down, straight up. Then with a little bit of snail, I'm going to attach that to the back of my card. And that is where I will sign my card. That is a little variation from the card that I made the other day, where I left one of the panels. I left this panel blank, and that's where I wrote my sentiment. So here we go. Isn't that an adorable set? An adorable card. And I like that it stands up, and I like that when you put it in an envelope, you just flatten it down, and it fits in a regular A2 card envelope. So it can be mailed, and you don't have to make any special envelopes for it. It just fits perfectly in there. Now, I did want to show you one more thing before we left. And this set here, if you go on to Pinterest, where I get a lot of my inspiration for my card classes, and you do a search for Stampin' Up! Bridge cards, you're going to see a lot done with this stamp set. You're going to see one that looks very similar to this. This stamp set, Colorful Seasons, is perfect because you can take your basic card like this, and you can do it for so many different seasons. You have a chair here for the beach, or you have your Adirondack. You have leaves so that you can do a fall one. You have snowflakes so you can do winter ones. You have these beautiful branches with these little flowers that you can stamp, so you can make a spring one. And then the coordinating die, there's the chair. There is no stamp for this chair, but there is that chair. You have your dies for these leaves, and you have other intricate dies, excuse me, of leaves. You have dies to cut out these flowers. You have a border die so that you could make a nice little border along your cards. And you have these nice branches where you stamp these, and you could just attach them onto that beautiful branch. It's just gorgeous. You even have a stamp of a cocktail or a drink, cold drink, and there's the framelit to cut that out. And you can see here you have this tiny stamp here. The stamp itself is bigger, but it's like a lemon wedge. And there's a little circle, so you could put a lemon in your glass. So you can use this stamp set and coordinating die to make bridge cards for every single season. And I'm getting excited. I know it's only March and we're just coming out of winter, but I'm getting excited because I think I'm going to use the snowflakes for my Christmas card next year, this year, and I'm going to make bridge cards. That's my plan now, but I just got so excited when I saw this and realized that I could make so many cards with that one stamp set. So if you have any questions at all about this project or any of the products I used, please contact me through my blog, www.stampwithanna.blogspot.com. I hope to see you back here soon. Have a great day.